Back to the daily grind, and y'all know we gotta talk about this. But before we do, make sure you hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
It looks like we've got some fucking hot news this morning, yo. Paige Van Zandt with the eating disorder, then we're just coming off of Wonder Boy hasn't been contacted by the UFC yet. Like, what the fuck? And now we got Khabib Nurmagomedov finally responding to Kevin Lee, who's been calling him out for quite some time now. And now before a lot of people were like, yeah, but Kevin Lee's not a big enough name. He hasn't been in a big enough fight. So he's calling out Khabib, but I mean, he's probably not going to get the fight, right? Well, now things are starting to get a lot more interesting in the lightweight division. We know Khabib's going to be fighting Tony Ferguson at UFC 223 in a couple of weeks. And Kevin Lee, he's going to be fighting Edson Barboza a little after that, which is Khabib's most recent opponent. So now we could very reasonably, very potentially be looking at a Khabib versus Kevin Lee fight in the future. Kevin Lee's been calling him out. And until this moment, I never heard Khabib even respond to Kevin Lee. Now he is responding, saying that Kevin Lee has a small heart. This was in an interview with The Exchange, I believe with Megan Olivi on Fight Pass, if I'm not mistaken, but this is what Khabib Nurmagomedov had to say. He wants to be tough, but he has a very small heart. Very small heart. When he fought with Tony Ferguson between second and third round, you can watch his face and understand everything. Faces never lie. His eyes, when Tony Ferguson talks about this is my night, his face agrees with this. So he's saying in between the second and third round, Kevin Lee pretty much gave up. He knew Tony Ferguson was going to win from that point. And now you can go back and forth on this, whatever side you're on. I mean, to be fair, Kevin Lee had Tony Ferguson almost out of there. He had him mounted. He was landing the ground and pound. Kevin Lee did his thing. Not to mention, Kevin Lee had a bad weight cut due to a staph infection. There was a lot of things going into that fight that were good, that were positives for Kevin Lee. He had a hell of a showing after the staph infection and the bad weight cut. And yeah, he lost, but he still gained a lot of people's respect. There were people that did not like Kevin Lee going into that fight, and I remember this because going into that fight, I had respect for Kevin Lee. I was putting respect on his name, and I was like, okay, I get it. He's not the fucking champion yet, but he does deserve this fight. You know, a lot of people thought he had no business in there with Tony Ferguson. But then after the fight, they were like, yo, I got to admit, Kevin Lee had his moments, he did his thing, and he's got my respect. So Kevin Lee's there. He hasn't fought since then. Now he's going to be fighting Edson Barboza, who was just brutalized by Khabib Nurmagomedov at UFC 219, something like that, I believe, at the end of the year card. And so now it was a decision, though. It was a very impressive decision and a dominant decision for Khabib Nurmagomedov. But now Kevin Lee, remember what Cody Garbrandt said when he got the TJ Dillashaw fight? Like, look, motherfucker, I knocked out Takeya Mizugaki faster than you. I knocked out Takeya Mizugaki faster than you. He said that right that time. And so let's say Kevin Lee finishes Edson Barboza. He can be like, yo, Khabib, I've been calling you out. I did what you couldn't. I finished Edson. You know what I'm saying? And continue to sell that Lee versus Khabib fight. A lot of people, I'm sure, would want to see that. So that's a fight that could happen in the future of the lightweight division. On top of Tony Ferguson versus Eddie Alvarez, a fight that I cannot wait for. And I believe Alvarez versus Ferguson is going to happen no matter what. No matter what happens between Khabib and Ferguson, I think Eddie Alvarez versus Tony Ferguson is next. That could also be the case for Khabib versus Lee. If Khabib loses, he might fight Kevin Lee next. If Tony Ferguson loses, he might fight Eddie Alvarez next. But if Tony Ferguson wins, I also think he's fighting Eddie Alvarez. I just think fucking Eddie Alvarez versus Tony Ferguson is going to happen. You heard it here first. But with that being said, Khabib Nurmagomedov is finally responding to Kevin Lee, saying that he has a very small heart. And one of the things about that also, in between that second and third round that Khabib is talking about, Kevin Lee was kind of probably gassed at that point. You know, we started to see him get tired in the fight, and a lot of people said it was because of the staph infection. Well, yeah, I mean, probably going into that third round, he probably realized, man, this staph is really kicking my ass. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, I think a lot of people, of course, would have Khabib as the favorite going into the fight, but Kevin Lee don't seem like he seems like he's really gunning for a Khabib fight. This lightweight division's really starting to move and shake. Conor McGregor's going to be stripped the second one punch is thrown in the Khabib versus Ferguson fight. So, I'll keep you guys updated. Make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't yet. I'm talking to you. I got to talk to you right now. Everybody that has hit subscribe, thank you very much. I appreciate it, family. But to all of you baby back bagel biting B words that have not hit subscribe, I don't give a damn if you listen every day and you ain't made an account because you don't even know what the fuck you're doing on YouTube. Make that account, hit subscribe, and help your boy get to 5,000 subscribers before my birthday in like 12 days. And if we don't hit that goal, I'm fucking leaving YouTube. I'm just kidding, but I'm out. And as always, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell right next to it so you're notified every time I upload a video. I'm out.
Da 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 da. It's the motherfucking DOWG.